Welcome to another edition of Our City. First, I want to congratulate Councilman Carlos Torres, who won his re-election effort in the 1st Ward in the election last week on June 5th. We thank him for his hard work on the City Council, and we wish him well for the next 4 years. I also would like to note that on Friday, June 15th, I'm going to attend Fun Day at the Leaguers. This event is running from 8:30 in the morning till 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's to be held in front of the school located at 1189 East Broad Street. Watching the little 3- and 4-year-old kids out there having a fun day as the semester breaks is an enjoyable morning. Later that morning at 10 o'clock, there's going to be an unveiling of a portrait at the Academy of Finance located at 600-648 Pulaski Street. And later that evening at 5 o'clock, I'm going to join that Councilman Carlos Torres of the 1st Ward and members of the Puerto Rican community, Councilman Nelson Gonzalez, also of Puerto Rican descent, and Elizabeth residents, as we raise the Puerto Rican flag in front of City Hall. On Sunday, June 17th at 4 o'clock, there'll be a Juneteenth celebration. This is held at the Elizabeth Waterfront, located at Front Street and Elizabeth Avenue. If you need additional information concerning these events or any other events, please call our Public Information Office at 908-820-4124. There are lots of rule changes in recycling. We're going to talk about that over the next half hour. Please stay with us.
We're creating tomorrow's jobs today. Kane University.
Welcome back to Our City. I'm pleased to be joined by Miss JoAnn Gemenden. JoAnn, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mayor, for having me today.
And Mr. Pat Vela, the City of Elizabeth Recycling Coordinator.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks. You've been on before, right, Pat?
Yes.
And JoAnn, you haven't been on my show, but you've been on other shows here at Kane.
Probably about a decade ago.
Oh, really?
Long time.
So tell me, how
glad
long
to
are you
be
with
back.
the county? Tell me about yourself a little bit, JoAnn.
I'm the Bureau Chief for the County Recycling Office. I am pleased to say I'm in my 33rd year in county government. I have a few more to go.
Few more?
A good time. Yeah.
Yeah. Go for 40. You're young enough. What'd you
Sure.
start when you were 9?
That sounds perfect.
Perfect, right? Yeah. So what do you do with, recycling over there at the county level? Do you keep tabs on a guy like Pat?
One of my jobs is to work with all 21 municipal recycling coordinators. We designate the materials that are mandated to be recycled for Union County, and we work with all the towns to make sure that they're doing everything they have to do. We also work to educate residents together because every town's a little bit different. We run events together. There's a lot of I consider the municipal coordinators my co-workers.
And Pat, you are one of those co-workers. You're the recycling guru here in the City of Elizabeth. You've been doing it for a few years. Tell us about how your role is growing and evolving.
Well, I've been doing it close to 15 years now. Our program, when we first started, I feel it's been growing a lot more. Recycling is for the last 10, 15 years, it's been increasing in many different areas, and I feel that I've been growing a lot more with it also.
What's a recycling coach, Pat?
So Recycle Coach is an app that you can download on your smartphone. It's full of tons of great information for recycling. It kind of gears towards and tailors towards the individual of where they are in their town. So it tailors towards your town, and you can ask it all kinds of information when it comes to recycling. And it's a new thing that we're going to initiate now together with the county.
When did you hear about Recycle Coach?
Recycle Coach came under a different name about 3 years ago. The representatives came to county coordinator meetings, but at that time it cost money. So we were looking into it, but we weren't really all in. Luckily, we waited until 2018 when New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection decided to purchase it on behalf of the state. So now it's free to everyone, every county and every municipality in New Jersey.
So DEP purchased this, so it's their initiative?
It's their initiative. They took a look at the recycling rates in New Jersey, and we talked to them, between the counties and the municipalities and the state, and this was one thing that they could purchase that would benefit everybody.
Free of charge?
Free of charge to everybody. If the city of Elizabeth wanted to purchase this or use this program last year, minimally it would have cost about $10,000.
So this free of charge, are we one of the few states that do this?
We're the first and only state to date that has it available free of charge to every county and every municipality.
So why do I want to get Recycle Coach? What are the features on this?
So if I could handle that.
No, absolutely.
So when you download the app, it'll ask you a series of questions. Where do you live? And it'll you tell them, and then it'll show a map of where your ward is. You just click on that, and immediately, just by that information alone, you're going to have access to a ton of information. You're going to get a recycling schedule that's for your town and where your ward is. So if you want to just, for example, ask when's my next recycling day, you could just tap on the calendar. It'll show you. If you're not sure what that day is, you tap on the day. It'll tell you what to recycle, when to recycle. It'll say commingle, and for example, it'll say commingle. You don't know what commingle is, you tap on commingle. It'll say place out your bottles and your cans in an open container, place it at the curb on a designated Wednesday. That's what it would be, for example, for something like the city of Elizabeth. And it's much more than just that. You can interact with it. You can set it to give you alerts or alarms of when the next time you have to put your recyclables out. It also will tell you upcoming events with the county or any other towns that are close to you. For example, paper shredding events or household hazardous waste events. So there's a lot of information that you can get access.
Is this app free?
It's free to every resident, and it's also, not only is it great for the residents, because you just get a calendar, and it's picture friendly. It says it'll have on Wednesday a blue container, so you know that's your recycling day. It'll have a black container for your garbage day. It'll have like a couch for bulky waste day, and it'll have a pile of brush for when it's yard waste day. But it's also a benefit to the towns that launch it on their website, because it's a tool that you can use to connect with the people that have the app. If there's a snowstorm and we have to switch the day we pick up your recycling or your garbage, you can send an alert out. If there's a holiday and the date for pickup has to change, it's noted in there. I actually used it last week. I was like, is today my recycling day? And I just clicked on the app and I said, oh, it's today. And you can set it out. It gives you collection requirements. So if you're going to do something as a change in your Elizabeth program, you can let them know this is what's changing. If we want to change the time, when you can set your recycling out or send them an alert.
So what town is that, JoAnn? You hit what town?
I live in Rahway.
So you hit the thing for Rahway.
So I have mine is programmed in based on when you first download it and go in. It sets your location, but you can easily change it. It's a statewide app, so if you go on vacation to Long Beach Island for the week and you want to know when recycling is, you can use the same app and just change where you are, and it tells you the same information just for that town.
For that town. Pretty good. So it's free. I guess we're buying into this, right, Pat? We're all in.
Yes, and I got to say, I believe Elizabeth is the first town that's going to be doing this through the NJDEP initiative. Is that correct?
You're the first town to launch and the largest town to launch in New Jersey. 2 years ago, we had, I think, 2 counties that actually bought it, and 2 towns in Union County that bought it. But under the free program, you're the largest city and by far way up on the top of the priority list to get this launched in Elizabeth.
And any other towns showing interest in this, in the 21 that you work with?
Oh, sure. We're doing presentations to a lot of them. Cranford is launching soon, if not this week. Kenilworth, I'm doing a presentation this month, as well as Union. So we're hoping to get at least half the towns launched within the next 5 months.
So I understand that there's a lot of changes in recycling, and that's one of the meatier part of this program.
Yes.
China's not accepting the recycling material as of January 1st.
Correct.
Probably Trump's fault, right? We can blame Trump? No, you guys can't get involved in that. I'm going to get involved in that. But these trade wars going back and forth, one of the things, they're not accepting it. So we have to change our guidelines for recycling, and the two of you have been working on this for the last couple of months. So what's going on? Tell us. What do we start with? Recycling cans and bottles? You want to start in that area?
Well, so in the past, I just want to say in the past, we've been a little bit lax at what we put at our recycling, at our curbside for recycling, and that's been okay because the vendors used to take it, and China used to take it, and the end markets used to take it. But now with stricter guidelines and stricter rules on how the recyclables have to be brought into the end market or what it should contain, we as residents, we have to be a little bit more careful of what we're putting into our recyclables at the curb. And a lot of that stuff has to do with, like, just for example, your cardboard, dirty cardboard, like pizza boxes or anything that has food in it. You really shouldn't put that at the recycling curb.
Well, not really shouldn't. You shouldn't, right?
Yeah, you shouldn't be there. It should be a no. It's a no. You shouldn't put it at the curb at all. That contaminates the load.
So pizza boxes, can you cut away the part of the pizza box that doesn't have grease in it?
I've heard that question. I guess you could take the top off if it's not dirty, if there's no grease on it. But food contaminates it, so a lot of your recyclables, like your bottles and cans, you'd want to make sure you'd wash them out too, because
let's
you don't
stick with
want
cardboard.
that.
We're going to get the bottle and cans in a minute. So if you can take the top of the pizza box off.
That's what I do.
That's what you do.
That's what I do.
That's what I do.
Yes.
Take the top and the greasy part goes in the garbage.
Absolutely, and that's a big question, and it's a bulky item. But when in doubt, throw it out. So, but I totally agree. If you're willing to go through, which only takes a minute to rip the box in half, recycle the top part, throw away the bottom.
So when in doubt, throw it out is concerning, because I think there's going to be less recycling, correct?
Absolutely, but the contamination rate that we're allowed now is 0.5% from China. It used to be 22% contamination rate. I just heard a term the other day. It's called the wishful recycler, and it's the people that put items in their recycling can kind of knowing that it's not on the list of recyclables,
But they don't want to throw it out.
They don't want to throw it out, but they're hopeful that somewhere down the road there's a way to recycle it magically. And we get phone calls every day about items. How do I recycle my curling iron? That was my question yesterday. There's just certain things that aren't meant for your curbside recycling.
So is a curling iron recyclable?
No.
No.
There's certain aspects of the metal that may be recycled, but it's unfortunately we want to make recycling economically feasible for the future, and we've really never even paid for recycling it for the last 10 years. And now we're looking at recycling rates going up by 30 to 40% possibly. And the only way to make it feasible for the long term is to make sure the items that go in the bin actually are able to be recycled by the companies we're using here in New Jersey.
So let's stick with cardboard and pizza boxes. We know the grease. So how about paperback books, or what are they? Are they allowed to be recyclable?
Yeah, absolutely. Your
Paperback
paper goods, your magazines, your newspapers, your mixed papers, your office paper, and cardboard. That can be
Loose leaf?
loose leaf paper.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That can be recycled.
So notebook paper from kids' schools,
Correct.
Sure.
Yes.
even if it was written on.
Yes. Yes.
Cardboard is, I think, the one item that still
Maintaining.
is
its,
maintaining its
value.
market. It's not as high as it was. It used to be $120 maybe a ton.
Right.
Now it's probably down to half that, but it's still marketable.
So you could throw your cardboard, newspapers, and
Loose
mail,
leaf magazine. Right.
mail and magazines and paperback books into the recycling all at once
Correct. On your designated
on your
day.
designated day.
On your designated day.
Whatever that is,
Right.
that app can help you.
Right. And it's also about how you put it out there. You want to make sure that it's pretty much either tied, nestled, or in an open container. Or if you have a box, some people they get creative. They have a cardboard box that's good, and they put all this stuff in the cardboard box.
But you cannot put it in a plastic bag.
Absolutely not. That's what we're gearing away towards, and we're trying to educate the residents to stop doing. The plastic bags are very detrimental to the product that goes to the vendors. It's hurting them by cost. It's hurting them because loads are getting rejected. You can recycle anything, but there's certain ways of doing it. And with the City of Elizabeth, we do not want our recyclables in a plastic bag.
So why do we recycle then?
So by recycling, when you're recycling, essentially you're taking that product, those recyclables, out of the main waste stream. You're taking it out of that load of trash. You're also reducing the load of trash that goes to the incinerator and the landfill. Now, I know that the City of Elizabeth pays a lot of money to get rid of trash. So by reducing that load of trash, you're also reducing cost. Not only are you reducing the cost for the town to pay to get rid of the trash, the recyclables that are left over, you can market. You can make money on the recyclables. So you're also you're having a cost savings on reducing the trash, and you're also creating revenue from the recyclables that the city is marketing. And that money that we get from the recyclables, you can use for other services for the residents or other recycling programs.
And what happens if people don't recycle?
That's a interesting question. When it comes to residents, we look at recycling twofold. We have businesses that don't recycle, and we have residents that don't recycle. Everybody is mandated to. They've been mandated to recycle since 1987. Businesses are a little different because we can issue them a violation, or the city can for not recycling. Residents, you really don't want to do that because then they're just going to end up throwing everything in the garbage,
including the summons.
Yeah, I mean, you can do that, but I think our primary way to go about getting them to recycle and to recycle right is to educate them. And I think with Recycle Coach, coming in this year at a time when recycling right is critical, we're really trying to marry the two together to get people to download the app, and that way if they have questions how to do it, we can inform them that way. The app is available. It'll be on the website, on the Elizabeth website. It's on the county website. You can use it on your phone, and it also works with Google and Alexa. So you can be in your kitchen and wondering when the next hazardous waste day is, and you can say, Google, when is the next hazardous waste day in Union County? And it will answer you. Can I put plastic bags in my recycling? And hopefully Google is going to tell you no.
On that question, we're going to take a break and come back and explore that in a few more minutes. Please stay with us after these messages. Back with more on recycling in the City of Elizabeth and the County of Union.
We're an American original, dependable, historic, nuanced, with all the comforts of home, even when you're just visiting. So we're celebrating for all that we've left untouched and all that we've changed. Place where the past meets the future. So consider this your invitation.
We've been celebrating here in Elizabeth for 350 years, and we're just getting started. Welcome back to our city, where I'm joined by JoAnn Gemenden, the County Recycling Coordinator, and Pat Vela, the City of Elizabeth Recycling Coordinator. JoAnn, you mentioned something before the break about recycling has been mandatory since 1987. What are the materials that are mandated to be recycled?
There's a long list of materials. There's probably about 15 materials that are the same for both residential and commercial institutions, but we have a few extra items for the commercial institution. But it's your bottles and cans, your paper, your number 1 and number 2 plastics.
Explain what that is, number 1 and number 2 plastics.
Every plastic container, if you look at the bottom, has a recycling symbol. And inside that recycling symbol, there's a number, and it's based on the type of plastic it is. Number 1 is generally your water bottles, and number 2 are your milk jugs. There for a while, a lot of end markets were taking higher number plastics, 3 through 7, like your yogurt containers or your butter containers, and that's something now that there are no end markets for them. So if there's no end markets, we don't want it obviously in the recycling bin. Union County never mandated anything from 3 through 7, but some towns added them as an extra component. It's interesting because we designate at the county what items you have to recycle. Every town then has to approve all of those items, but they're allowed to add extra if they want to.
But there's no end market for 3 through 7. So Pat, we're gonna go out with some public service announcements, right?
Correct. We're gonna let people know that what they have to put out and what they're not going to put out. I designed through the county, I kind of mirrored off the county on a few things, but we designed a recycling guideline flyer. This will tell you the do's and don'ts of recycling for your curbside. There are a lot of mandated recyclables out there, but the main concern right now is we want our residents to know that the mandated recyclables for them is their cardboard, their paper goods, and their commingle, which is their bottles and plastic bottles and cans.
And that what JoAnn said about number 1
and so
number 2.
Number 1 and 2 are mostly like your drinking containers, and if you keep that in mind, your drinking containers are your 1s and your 2s, like
So
your milk
before the
jugs.
show, we talked about buying grapes at the supermarket, and in the plastic container on the bottom of it was a recycling symbol with number 1.
Correct. So
That would be recyclable,
yes, if you
or no?
So if you were to see the container and you happen to see a number 1, it's the same type of plastic that would be in your drinking container, so it could be recycled. But there are a lot of companies out there that there are various different grape containers, and that might not be a 1 or a 2. It could be 3, 4, or whatever. And we don't want people to get confused. So if they stick to the 1 and the 2s, they're going to be in the right. They'll be okay.
So where does
with
recycling go, JoAnn, after you pick it up at the curb?
Recycling goes to a material processing facility, and that's the difference between the wishful recycler and the realist. I don't think they realize that every piece of recycling has to be processed. Whereas your garbage goes in a big pile, it gets pushed into the waste to energy facility and gets burned. Recycling has to be processed, so it has to be out of a bag, and it goes through what they call a star screen, and it has to be sorted, and the metals will get sorted out one way, the plastics go another, paper goes down the chute, and it all has to be processed. So things that get contaminated in the load, especially plastic bags, they jam up those star screens. I equate it to a vacuum cleaner when you get a string and your vacuum cleaner doesn't work anymore. So processing facilities have had to now shut down several times a day to stop everything and go in and pull out the plastic bags because it's just shutting down.
So are plastic bags and what your newspapers come in those plastic bags and some of this other stuff, 6, 7s, and 5s, are they recyclable another way?
The plastic bags are. All of the plastic bags are recyclable. They're just not recyclable through your curbside. We just put together on our county website a list, I call it the FAQs of recycling. And because there's the question about the pizza boxes, question about where do I recycle, where do I put a cap on my plastic bottle or do I throw the cap away? So it's a ever evolving list of questions, but that's something hopefully we can add to Recycle Coach. So as we get different questions in, that list will grow and the answers will grow, so people won't all have the same answer to the questions they have no matter where they live.
So what are we doing in our city to help educate people, Pat?
So, like I said, we created right now a recycling guideline flyer that we we posted in City Hall. You can get that at public information. It'll tell you the do's and don'ts, what you can put and what you can't put at the curb and how to put it. It's also going to be posted on the Instagram. It is on the Instagram, Elizabeth's Instagram, and it's also eventually going to be eventually on Elizabeth's Facebook page and website.
Now, JoAnn, you were talking about during the break, loads were rejected because they didn't have the proper. What happens then?
Because China has put a strict enforcement code, and they only want, they don't want contamination anymore. Before they took loads and that were contaminated and didn't fine anybody. Now they're fining, not China directly, but Waste Management, for example, and our different haulers in Union County. If they bring it to the end market and there's way too much contamination in them, they'll either reject the load, which then you have to physically sort it to get the material out, or they're putting a fine on the recycling, which is definitely an incentive to make sure that doesn't happen
And somebody
again.
then has to go through the load if it's
Right.
rejected, right?
Correct.
So what are some of the initiatives you're doing? This seems like a busy year, 2018, for recycling.
I said before, I've been here a long time, and recycling's been mandatory a long time, but I think this is the largest array of recycling initiatives we've had at the county for a long time. Our freeholder chairman, Sergio Granados, is all into green and sustainability programs. So we're working with the towns and we're giving them some recycling enhancement grants. We'll be giving money out the end of this month. We're working with our schools and buying recycling bins for all of the schools. We're actually getting shipment this week, and we're giving them out a lot in Elizabeth.
Yes.
And we'll talk about that later.
What phone number can you be reached at, JoAnn, if people want to call for your information in the county?
908-654-9890.
But you want to see more and more people get this app, correct?
I would love that.
That's key.
That's key. And I think when we have our fairs or our other programs, we're going to be, trying to get people to download the app and give them a reusable grocery bag, kind of an incentive to do that.
So, and we're going to continue with our education process.
Yes.
As well, Pat?
Yes. So one of the initiatives through the county that they're providing some recycling bin. They provided the grant, and we're going to be purchasing recycling bins and containers for the school. But besides that, and helping the schools out to increase on their recycling, besides that, I'm really excited. We're going to target education very big. We're going to educate the children and the students, and starting this summer, not even for the school year, starting this summer, I'm going to have through grants, we'll be able to have excuse me, we're going to have a magician that's going to go out to the parks for park programs, and Elizabeth also has summer camp programs. And the magician's going to go out to these kids. He's going to teach them, give them a little show of magic, but through magic, he's going to teach them about recycling, especially in the town that they're in, how to recycle, what to recycle, when to recycle it. So they're also going to get a nice show of magic, but they're going to learn through magic. And we're also, when the school year starts, we're going to send teachers, certified teachers, into certain classrooms, and they're going to teach the students about recycling and litter abatement, and also what else they can do for recycling.
So I want to thank the two of you for taking the time to join me on the show, and especially the work we have ahead of us in educating the public about the proper recycling after China has changed the rules. So
Thank you, Mayor.
thank you very much,
Mayor.
JoAnn. Thank you, Pat. I want to thank Mr. Pat Vela and Miss JoAnn Gemenden for joining me on the show this evening. And please contact them or the City of Elizabeth or the County of Union regarding new recycling rules that are bound to shake things up here throughout the City of Elizabeth and the County of Union. I'm Chris Ballwage. We'll see you next week on another edition of Our City.
We have some of the finest teachers in the country. And then they graduate. Kane University.